So today I'm gonna do a review of Ginny and Georgia. I don't have a season one review, so I'm just gonna kind of, for the most, review season two, and then like I'm gonna give, I'm gonna do it by character. So hopefully that'll give you just like an overall view of how I feel about the characters. But I feel like season two was definitely better than season one, and it gave us more character development. So I will focus on season two. I have to say, so I was like kind of ignoring this show for a really long time. I was like, oh my god. And everybody was watching it. A lot of people were watching it. And I was like, okay. And I'm on winter break right now for school. And I was just like, man, I need to watch something. And it can't be like too heavy, you know. I started Alice in Borderland, but I'm watching that with my boyfriend. So when I'm like home by myself, I can't watch it. So I was like, okay, let me get into Ginny and Georgia by myself one day, and I got into it, and I was like, oh my god. And like the way you guys put the talk about it on TV, I was like, I feel like I'm gonna hate this show. But then I got into it, and I really like this show. I really do like the show. It There was like, I think it was in like episode one or two where, was it Georgia? She was like, we're not the Gilmore Girls or something, but like they kind of are. They are the Gilmore Girls. They're like their foil. Like, I don't know. I really enjoy the show a lot, and yeah, I don't know. That's all I have to say. So let's start with Ginny's character. Um, I feel like Ginny gets a lot of hate online, and the way that, like I said, I just started this show maybe like 2 weeks ago. It's my first time watching it. The way that y'all were presenting her on social media, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna hate this show. I'm gonna hate this character. I literally like Ginny. I like Ginny. Like, she's a teenage girl. I don't know. Maybe it's like younger people that are saying that they don't like her, which like makes sense, you know. But I'm like around the actresses who plays Ginny. I'm around her age, so I like Ginny. I like how the actress portrays her. I think she does a really good job of making her come off with like different layers, especially in this new season where they add more depth to her character. I think she did a good job handling that. Um, Ginny, I liked her from the beginning, to be quite honest. She is very smart. She's into a lot of books, which I love because I love to read books as well. So when she was reading certain books, I was like, okay, Ginny has taste in books. And when she went to her AP Lang or English class or whatever, and she was like already reading all the books, it was giving Matilda. I was like, okay, she is that girl. She's iconic. And yeah, she just has all of the makings of an iconic kind of character, kind of reminiscent of like, and I hate to say like an Elena Gilbert kind of esque character, but she's like kind of like the cool, edgy girl. So I like that about Ginny. She's not like other girls, okay? Um, I like how her character was developed more in season two as far as her relationship with Georgia. And I understand people's issues with her being so, you know, hard on Georgia for like getting information about her life and why they are in the circumstances that they are. But like, if you really think about it, and honestly, like I said, I really like Ginny, and there was very few times where I was annoyed by her character. But when I would be like, okay, let me think back to when I was a teenager, and I was like, okay, yeah, I would literally be the same way, or I can like understand where she's coming from, you know. And although like as an adult, I'm like, okay, stay in a child's place sometimes. Also, I understand when you can be able to understand like more abstract concepts and ideas, just wanting to know that information. But sometimes you don't need to open Pandora's box, you know what I mean? I thought it was so funny in one of the scenes where Georgia kind of like told Ginny a bunch of stuff, and then she was like, okay, and she was like, and by the way, we're broke. And then Ginny was like eating her donut, and she was so sad and depressed, and I was just like, see, you wanted to know everything. So I thought that was so funny, and it was just kind of like, yeah, it did make it better that Georgia opened up to her about some things, but you kind of do need that illusion when you're still a child. Like, you should still be able to be a child, and I think Ginny was prying too much, but it was at the extent where, like, Georgia literally had to say what she had to say because Ginny was really going in on it. And I feel like it's because it was affecting her life too much. She's just very sensitive. And, she's a neurodivergent minor, so not too much on Ginny. I like where her storyline went with her going to therapy this season. I think it's one of the. It was a really good portrayal. I like her therapist. I like the episode they had when Georgia came into therapy and she talked about how much she gave up and sacrificed for Ginny, but Ginny was just basically like, I understand that, but it doesn't make my experience any different and what I feel. The fact that you can't relate to some of my experiences. So I thought the show navigated that very well because, you can kind of just, it's easy to just be able to write off a lot of these conversations, but I feel like Ginny and Georgia really goes there sometimes without being too obnoxious about it, I suppose, because sometimes shows do it and it's like annoying or they just don't add anything to the conversation, and I think Ginny and Georgia does a good job with it. And I don't hate Ginny or Georgia. I love them both. I kind of do like Georgia a little more. Georgia is a mother, okay? So I like where Ginny's character, her dynamic with her mom, her dynamic with her dad is also really interesting, and I like that they went into that more in season 2. I like that her dad was the one that helped her go into therapy and all this kind of stuff because Georgia didn't believe in that, and that was kind of making me so upset. But then her dad was like, okay, honey, I got you. Like, we're going to go to therapy, especially when he found out that she was burning herself. He was like, okay, like, this cannot happen anymore. I loved when she was spending, well, I don't know if it was Christmas or Thanksgiving with her father and his side of the family because I loved their side of the family, and I don't know, I just think it's so cute. And then the grandma was like kind of checking Ginny at some points, like to see the cultural differences there. I feel like that was done pretty well as well. So that was funny. And then Austin, he was like, "Oh, this isn't green bean casserole." And then the grandma was like, "Green bean casserole." That was so funny. Yeah, she was like, "You talk about your mom like that?" to Ginny. That was so funny. So I liked all of those scenes, and I was heartbroken at the end of season 1 when basically Georgia and Zion didn't get back together, and I thought that just did so much damage to Ginny. So, not too much on Ginny. As far as her friendships and relationships, because we have to get into more, because Ginny's basically the main character of the show, so I'm going to focus on her basically a lot for a little bit. So let's get into her friendships next, and then we'll talk about her relationship with Marcus. So her friendships, okay. I don't know. At first, I didn't know how to feel about Ginny's friends. I do like Max, but I feel like when Max got upset with Ginny, she really did not give her a chance. But at the same time, I always have to remind myself, oh my gosh, they're in high school, so sometimes, you can be a little dramatic or whatever. But it was really annoying me because I feel like Max would give some of her other friends chances and opportunities that she wouldn't give to Ginny. And I don't know if the show intentionally does that, but I don't know. But like, it made me really mad. Um, as far as everybody else, I don't really think everybody else was really friends with Ginny. It was kind of like she was in proximity to them. So Max was the one that wanted to be friends with Ginny, and then everybody was kind of like, "What are you doing with this girl? Like, why is she here?" Even the original girls in like Mang or whatever, they're like, "Why is she here?" I still don't think. What's the one girl's name? I don't know her name, but she's the one with the boyfriend. The other one with the boyfriend. She really does not like Ginny. Her boyfriend doesn't like Ginny either, and they made that abundantly clear in one episode. And I was like, there's even an episode where Marcus is like, "Why are you friends with these people?" And I'm like, exactly. And I'll get into Marcus later. Um, but I don't understand that. And then when the one girl, I can't remember her name. What is her name? Hold on. Bria, is that her name? Or Bracia? When she was trying to talk to, yeah, Bracia. She was trying to talk to Ginny in season 1. I was like, oh my gosh, Ginny, please. And she kept kind of putting her on the back burner, and I was just like, ugh, I wish they developed their relationship more. And they did in season 2. I was really happy about that. But Ginny was really longing for her friendship with Maxine, and I think Maxine was kind of like her found, you know, family in, where do they live? Maine, wherever they live. I have no idea. They're always throwing different places out there. And I get that. But they don't feel that way about Ginny. You know, this is her first sense of security in any town. So she has that memory, has those memories with them. And then when they kind of dropped her really quickly, that was like a wake up call for her. So I felt bad for her at that moment because her and Marcus were not trying to like genuinely vibe with each other, and they did try to go opposite paths after their first couple of encounters with each other, but they just couldn't resist each other. So I mean, you can't really, you know, it is what it is. So and they were just trying to figure out their how they felt about each other, I feel like, as well. So you can't really like tell other people how you feel if you don't really know how you feel yet. So yeah, but I don't really get the whole thing of why people get mad when they pull a best friend's brother, Victoria's tease. I don't know. But um that was her relationship with her friends. Later on, they explored her with Abby, and I liked her. I'm not gonna lie, I liked their dynamic a little bit, but it made me upset because I feel like when they were in the original group with all four of them, Abby kind of like ignored her, and she didn't really like her. But yeah, Abby also goes through a lot of stuff by herself. And then, of course, when Abby was thrown out of the friend group, I felt like it was convenient for her to be friends with Georgia. Like, they were friends out of convenience. And it kind of is what I feel like kind of about the whole Mang friendship in general, besides the main three girls. Like, I don't know. We'll see what happens. If this show can go on for a couple of seasons and we explore like Georgia going to college and whatever, it would be interesting to see if she's still friends with these girls. And I think the show could genuinely go on for a couple of seasons. So yeah, I liked her. Her friendships were interesting. Ginny is an interesting character, and I like what they do with her. And it's a drama, so it can get really tired really quickly, but they keep it interesting. Next, her relationships. Okay, so Hunter. I never really cared for Hunter. But when he came around, I was like, okay, I guess he treats her right. But then when they had that whole argument, I was like, mm-mm. And then also when Marcus was saying that he didn't like Hunter, I immediately was just like, okay, that's kind of off. Because, I don't know. I am a Marcus stan, so yeah, that's all I have to say. I trust his judgment, and he was saying Hunter was a no-no. And he definitely was, because when they were having that little argument in her bedroom, I was surprised that they even talked to each other again after that. But it happened. It came and it went. It seems like he was more beat up about it than Ginny was at the end. But, you know. And then people, okay, so back to people saying this show is cringy. I genuinely don't think this show is that cringy, but I do find Hunter to be. I think Hunter is all of the cringiness in this show. Like, Hunter is so cringy. That tap dance routine for Ginny's birthday, I was like, okay, he's interesting. And then I was so mad at him when they both wrote the essay for their AP Lang class, and then obviously Ginny's essay was better, and they were like, but you didn't write an essay. And I was like, but she did. And Hunter wasn't trying to help her out with that. I don't know, that really made me mad because he was just like, no hard feelings or whatever, but your essay wasn't good, Hunter. It was not as good as Ginny's either. Anyways, now onto her relationship with Marcus. I am a Ginny and Marcus stan. I love their relationship. It's like I said, have you ever watched Gilmore Girls? Who what's her name? Rory? Oh gosh, what is his name? I cannot even remember his name, but the main guy that the guy from Heroes plays, and he plays Rory's love interest. Like, Ginny and Marcus are giving that, and I hope they end up being endgame, because Marcus is actually, so far he hasn't done anything terrible to Ginny. Even though he broke up with her, he was depressed. And okay, I'll get into Marcus's character later. It's not his time. But that was such a good storyline. But I do like Ginny with Marcus. I feel like he understands her. He listens to her. He accepts her for who she is. All that stuff. So, yeah, we'll see what happens. It seems like they're kind of like teasing us with it because they made us wait a long time for them to get together, and then they got together, and then they broke up. So I was like, this is gonna be, we're gonna be in for a ride for this one, okay? I, even though I want them to be like Endgame, I wouldn't mind them bringing somebody else in season 3. It would be interesting for either Marcus or Ginny. Like, it would be funny. Not funny, but yeah. Okay, so that's enough of Ginny's character. I do like Ginny a lot. Um, yeah, that's all I have to say. She's a fun girl. She's cute. Yeah, Ginny's fun. So next, on to Georgia. A mother. I love Georgia. Georgia is my favorite character. She is so funny from the first episode. She's just hilarious. She has a lot of issues, and you know, I support women's rights and wrongs. And this show basically, even though the newer seasons spend a lot of time on Ginny, the storyline and plot is heavily driven by Georgia and her past. And just immediately going into the show, you're like trying to figure out who Georgia is as a person, what has happened to her with her other husbands and boyfriends. You know, it kind of like unfolds over time, and it's all very interesting and intriguing, and I just find Georgia to be such a kind of cool, somewhat nuanced character, you know what I mean? So, yeah, and the actress is very charismatic in her role, so I appreciate that. And her, the chemistry she has with the actress that plays Ginny is really good as well. I meant to mention that because I know these actors are older than they are, so their chemistry as far as being mother and daughter is really good. As far as, and also the chemistry with Ginny and her dad, like I really enjoy it. It's cute to watch. Georgia's storyline. So in season 2, I don't really. I'm like, does she really have a storyline, or is she just kind of like going with the flow of what's going on? She's trying to not get caught up for killing her yoga husband, who was, anyways, yeah. Uh, she's just a mother. She's trying to protect her kids. She's out here fighting for her life. She's trying to find love with Paul. I'll get into the love interest later, because yeah, Georgia, she's the star of the show. She really is. I really like her as a character. She wears amazing outfits, and you just want to know so much about Georgia. As soon as you watch the show, and you're so invested in her character, and the end of season 2, spoiler alert, this will be filled with spoilers, her getting arrested, please, like, I need her out of jail in episode 1. I'm not joking. Georgia cannot be in jail for too long. It's not funny. I don't care. Paul better get her out of jail. It's not even funny. Okay. Because I don't really feel like, as far as I feel like she kind of just had to go with the flow of things because everything was so chaotic that she had no control over it. It was kind of giving Dead to me a little bit. It was. So, as far as her relationships, what's his name? I'm a Joe and Georgia stan. Joe and Georgia belong together. Okay, second is Zion and Georgia, but I really feel like Zion and Georgia already had their go multiple times, and it just does not work. Like, they cannot get it together. For whatever reason, they can't get it together. They've tried many times. It just does not go. His family's not a big fan of her. They just need to stop trying to make it work because I think it's just best for them and their children, because it's really painful to watch them just kind of go back and forth with each other. Even though they obviously will always have love and attraction for each other, it's just not gonna work. But I do like to see them co-parent. I think that's where we should go with their characters from here on out. I don't know. So, Georgia and Paul. Oh, and as far as them co-parenting with Ginny, let's talk a little bit more about that, because I found that to be interesting in season 2, how Zion came into the picture and bought an apartment, and really was there for Ginny and her emotional needs. Whereas I feel like Georgia is more akin to her social needs, I guess, and her dating life and all of that kind of stuff. But it's evident that she doesn't care about her emotional, not doesn't care, but she's not necessarily as aware of her emotional needs because, like she said, she doesn't really believe in therapy and all that kind of stuff. And she moves around so much to the point where Ginny cannot establish a life, and that's very difficult when you're so young. And she doesn't really, stop for a second to be like, oh, you know, talk about it with her, even though she realizes it all the time in the series. And she's like, oh, I effed her up. She always says that in the show. She's like, I messed Ginny up and all of this stuff, and she cries about it. And it's really sad because even though she doesn't show it to Ginny, Georgia really does care a lot about Ginny. And yeah, I just hope that she can show people that she cares a little bit more in later seasons. Like, learn, you can see her develop as a character, which is what I really appreciate about all of the main characters and all of the side characters even in this show, is they show development and growth, which is awesome, and it has all the makings for a good drama. But Georgia ends up going to therapy with Ginny, and even though she gets hurt by some of the stuff Ginny says, I think that's normal and natural as her mother to get hurt by those things because she doesn't want to feel like she's hurting Ginny in any way. But I think she does realize she does hurt her. But hearing her say it out loud, it's like, it stings her a little bit. But then from that point on, she can fix their relationship. That's the only way you can fix it. And they do get better eventually. They have to go over a lot of hurdles. And it was kind of tough to watch, even with Ginny self-harming, and then eventually Georgia finds out by invading her privacy, unfortunately, but she finds out, and Zion was kind of right. She did need to tell her mom, but I feel like it was on Ginny's terms, and that's why it's messed up that Georgia went into her diary. But they became closer after that, and I feel like unfortunately that's what it took for Georgia to be like more soft with Ginny. You know what I mean? So yeah. And watching her navigate that with Zion, and Zion also protecting Ginny, even though he was going back and forth and he was conflicted about telling Georgia because she is her mother, but at the end of the day, he's her father. And Georgia was not, attending to certain needs that Ginny needed, and she was not understanding, and Zion could. So, he did what he had to do to some extent. I feel like they compromised somewhat. So, I do like their co parenting, but like I said, they need to just co parent, probably, and that's it. And then Joe. Like I said, I'm a Ginny and Joe stan. Ginny and Joe need to be together. And I love how they did the little backstory of Ginny going to Joe's high school back in the day and him giving her the sunglasses. And she still has the sunglasses today. There's no way that she's just gonna stay married to Paul. I mean, there's just absolutely no way. So we'll see what happens with Ginny and Joe. I think something's gonna happen eventually. Or I'm delusional. Hopefully something happens with Ginny and Joe. Like, I just can't. Watching him with the other mom, I was just like, why? Why is this happening? But yeah, Georgia, and then also, yeah, Georgia's just an interesting character altogether. Her relationship with Paul is interesting because I feel I feel like in her relationship with Zion, since Zion has like they have history, she can't really do that thing where she like tries to be super charming with him because he's like, okay, girl, like I know who you were, but Paul doesn't know a lot of stuff, and Ginny kind of holds that over her head at times. She'll be like making little smart remarks about her past, and George is like, girl. And I feel like that was kind of messed up because, like Zion said at one point, he was like, well, you have to understand that some of her family, they really are dead to her. Like, if they're not literally dead, metaphorically, they're dead to her because what they did to her. Her sister is always trying to do something mess up to her. Her father, yeah. And then her mom. So you understand where George is coming from. So, and that's a really hard thing to talk about with your daughter, but eventually, I don't know. I guess you do have to have that conversation. I don't know how that works. because I feel like Ginny hearing all of those things ultimately just kind of made her really sad for her mom, and that wasn't really something that like a toll that she needed to carry, and that's why Georgia tried to hold that information from her. But then, like I said, she just kept on picking at it and picking at it. I think that's just a part of who Ginny is as a character, you know. She's just very sensitive and yeah, she's very empathetic, I suppose. And she catches on to things and things that are happening around her. So, yeah, I understand how it folded out eventually, and I do like how it ended up, and their relationship was reconciled in the end, so I did appreciate that. As far as her relationship with Austin, I do wish she would pay more attention to him. The difference is for with Jenny and Austin, Jenny can actually advocate for herself because she's like a teenager and she can be like, "Hey, you can or can't do this or whatever." Austin can't really do anything. I mean, you saw the one scene where she was just like, "Hey, Austin, we have ice cream." And Austin was like, "Oh yeah, I want to move back home." Like Austin just is like head empty, no thoughts whatsoever, just ice cream. So I do feel bad for him, and then especially when like Gil came back in the picture, she was kind of like, and he was like, well, you know, I want to get to know my dad. And Jenny was like, well, she should get to know her dad. Once again, stay in a child's place, Jenny. But she didn't want to. And the reason that she had Gil, is that his name, away from them, there was a reason for all of that. So that whole storyline was crazy. Mm-mm. And I hope he ends up going to jail because he's still out and about for all I know. It's just that he didn't get to his apartment. So I'm like, okay, cool, but like he's still out there. I need him not out there. I thought he was gonna get whacked, but apparently not. So what else I want to say about Georgia? Yeah, I just really enjoy her character. I understand where she comes from. I like her insecurities when she's hanging out with Paul's parents. That's why I'm like, ultimately, her relationship with Paul just cannot work out. Also, I'm a Ginny and Joe stan, so it won't work out. It just won't. But his parents were so snobby towards her, and I feel like she always has to be this person that she's not with Paul, and that will just always be their relationship. Even when she had the guns in the house, he was freaking out, you know what I mean? So, which is understandable, but it just goes to show that she has a certain side that he will never understand. Even Zion will understand that side to some point. Like, he'll just be like, what, your mom did this or whatever? And he'll be like, Zion just like, he's like a hippie. Like, he's just like, okay. He's a hippie with money, which, like, honestly, I think a lot of hippies have money, honestly. But, yeah. Joe, it's interesting because you would think that he would be scared of George's dark side, or at least trying to make you think that in the story. But then you kind of find out that he sticks up for himself too, just like Georgia constantly has to do throughout the story. So, you know, hopefully their endgame, we'll see what happens. And I love how she comes there and like the moms kind of don't accept her for at first. I hope we get a friend for Georgia in the next season besides the neighbor mom, because she kind of just is like mad at Georgia because Marcus snuck up in Ginny's window, and it's just like, is that really George's fault? I mean, watch your son. And God forbid she find out that Georgia, you know, got, you know, whatever from Marcus. And the scene when Georgia was talking to Marcus in the basement or whatever, in the garage, and he was like, "Don't worry, I won't tell anyone your secret." And I was like, Marcus, really? Like, you're not supposed to tell anybody. But, you know, Marcus was really, you know, not really. He wasn't all there. And she was like, what do you mean? He's like, just dying. Like, why would he do that? I don't understand why he would do that. He is hilarious. Him and Georgia are both, like, corny king and queens. Like, they belong together. They are so funny. They're so dramatic and melodramatic, and I love it. So, yeah, that's all to say about Georgia. I'll probably talk a little bit about her later. But she's really awesome. And I love the scene where she talks crap about Ron. And, like, I love all the little Harry Potter references in this show. It's kind of funny. But, next character is Marcus. Marcus is an interesting character. I think he is a proper love interest. Yep, I said it. Yeah, I thought he was gonna do something crappy to Ginny, but he's yet to do anything crappy to her besides the one time where he was like, "Oh yeah, it meant nothing," but I think he was really just trying to like not get into too much crap about the whole scenario that was happening at the time. But ultimately, I do like Marcus. I do think he strays away from relationship. Like he has some kind of issues there. Hopefully, we get to dive more into it. Ginny can be a little bit self-involved at times, but that is what it can feel like being a teenager, especially going through stuff that she goes through. But I think she kind of snapped out of it because Max was kind of like, we're kind of all worried about Marcus right now, so it's not really about you. And Ginny was like, oh, okay. So, hopefully they get it together. I love the episodes where they did the episode where they broke up and they did it from her perspective, kind of, and they did it from his perspective. I absolutely love that. Like, I was just thinking of all of the love interests on Netflix right now at the moment, and nobody really has like an episode like that where just they carry that episode. Even like Paxton from Never Have I Ever, is that what the show is called? Or you know what show I'm talking about? Mindy Kaling's little show. They tried to like develop his character more in the later seasons, but to give a character an episode like this where they talk about tackle depression and from like talking about a guy experiencing it as well, I feel like was kind of different. So I really did enjoy that story arc with Marcus. I feel like they did a really good job with that. And yeah, the actor did a good job on that whole episode. It was really great, and that was one of my favorite episodes of the season, to be quite honest. So, yep, I really enjoy his character. Um, I'm genuinely somewhat interested in his character outside of him dating Jenny. I think they're interesting, and I wouldn't like. That's why I say I wouldn't mind them. I don't mind when they kind of like get apart, even though I'm like, oh my god, please. But when they get back together, I'm like, I know they'll get back together. They'll always find their way back to each other. Even though I was upset when Georgia and Marcus were talking in that one episode, and she was like, you have to let her go, all of this stuff. And I was just like, dang. I don't know. I feel like she's kind of underestimating their relationship. And Ginny says it at one point. She's like, oh, like, he loves me. And she was like, oh, yeah, that's cute, Ginny. And Ginny's like, no, like, you don't understand. And I really do kind of see where she's coming from there because he's, like, kind of obsessed with her. So, yeah. I think they're cute and they understand each other, most importantly. And they're there for each other in times of need. Like when Ginny was burning herself, Marcus was kind of the one that was like, you should go to therapy. And like sometimes, I have these feelings that I can't deal with, and you should talk to somebody about that. So I think they're so interesting. I really like them together. So hopefully, but I feel like them getting together at this point was like kind of too early. So I was like, ugh. So, I don't mind them making us kind of wait for it a little bit and drawing it out, even though it'll be a little bit agonizing. But still. His relationship with his sister is really, it's really cute. Max and Marcus clearly care for each other. I love the episodes when Maxine got really wasted and then Marcus took care of her, and then Marcus was getting wasted like a bunch of times later on when he was getting depressed, and Maxine was like always covering his ass, and she was explaining to Ginny things about him, and even though I don't know if she like read his journal or something like that to find out he was like really depressed. It was an invasion of privacy, but at the same time, like she was right. Like it kind of needed to happen because she wasn't understanding that he was depressed, and if nobody understood that he was depressed, people from the outside can't really understand or see that sometimes because all of those kind of side effects are intrinsic. And then she knew that, and then the parents were like, okay, we have to get him back in therapy, we have to get him back on medication. So, you know, good twin link there. I'm glad that Max was kind of keeping a close eye out for her brother. So yeah, that's basically all I have to say about Marcus. In season 3, where would I like all of these kind of characters to go? Because I feel like they are kind of the main characters that get the most story arcs in the show. Season 3, like I said, it seems like George is in jail, so Ginny's probably gonna go. I'm like, is Paul gonna get custody of them, or are they gonna go live with Zion? If Austin goes to live with Gil, I'm gonna literally lose my crap. But Ginny's more than likely gonna go live with Zion, and she can still go to school when she lives with him because she was always going over there. So that'll be really interesting and fun to watch. And I feel like even though she'll be sad her mom's in jail, I don't think Georgia will be in jail for long. I hope she's not in jail for long, but it'll be cool. I've always wanted to see, like, when she started to hang out at Zion's house and had her little bedroom, I was like, this is kind of cute. I would love to see her kind of hang out here for a while and, like, go to school and have her friends come over. So we'll see what happens with that. Georgia in the next season, I feel like a lot's going to come to light for her when she's in prison. Like, when she had that little conversation with Paul, it was cute, but she was not revealing everything. And now that this happened and she got arrested, I think that I don't know, either things are going to have to come to light or she's going to be at her lowest point, and we'll see what happens. I think Paul will stay beside her, but at some point she's going to have to reveal the darker sides of her, and I don't think he's going to be okay with them. So eventually I think they're going to have to break up because that's why she's holding things back, because she knows if she says certain things, he won't see her the same way. So we're going to see that happen and just see her character grow more. I feel like Ginny's character grew more than Georgia's, but Georgia is really stubborn. That's just who she is. And she's older, so she's set in her ways, whereas Ginny is younger and, she's just figuring herself out more. As far as Marcus, I don't really have much to say about his character. He doesn't really do too much. I like his dynamic with Ginny. Even if they're not dating, they're always there for each other, and I just like to see that explored and continued more in season 3. Next, on to Abby. Abby's an interesting character. It seemed like she was always going through something, so I was like, cool, we have some story arcs for side characters. That's great. I do think Abby's really rude, though, at times, and I really feel like she's not like Ginny, but maybe she's over that. I really don't know, because I will never forget, they were at the diner, what they call it, the Blue Farm, and she really smacked Ginny. I was like, okay. Out of all the friends, she smacked Ginny because they weren't paying attention to her. It was weird. But then they kind of like bonded when Max was mad at them. I was like, okay, whatever. Cool. Whatever. Abby, I'm still watching you. Joe. I'm Team Joe and Georgia. Joe is like kind of like a second father to Ginny. Helps her with some. He's the one that helps her reveal her feelings to Marcus. So I just can't wait to see what they do with Joe in the next season. I need that one lady to stay away from him, okay? Because that is Georgia's man. I need him and Georgia to pick up the chemistry. Like, I'm not even joking. Next season, I need something to happen. So we'll see what happens. Maxine. I really like Maxine. I kind of feel seen in Maxine somewhat because she's so all over the place. And the one episode they have with her where she doesn't want to play the witch in the play, that was kind of like obnoxious and evil because she feels like she's just like too much. I was like, aw, that was a cute little episode, I like her character. I hope that she finds someone for her. It seems like, what's that one girl she's dating that does the costumes backstage? They're very cute together, so hopefully we figure that out. She annoyed me a little bit in season 2 because she was just mad at everybody, but also underdeveloped brain, so I'm glad that her and Ginny are friends again because I did like their dynamic, but I kind of hated how quickly like Ginny was kind of disposable to her, you know what I mean? They kind of felt like she was just kind of like an aesthetically pleasing friend to her. Like, she was like, oh, this is a cool girl that kind of like speaks up when things happened to her in AP Lang, but Ginny made a point to say that none of her friends kind of helped her in those scenarios. So I was kind of like, right, Ginny, right. But anyways, like, Maxine was kind of like, oh, you're my hero, all this stuff. Ginny was like, no, girl, this is not fun. I am not Wonder Woman. Hunter, you know how I feel about him. He's weird. He's just one of those, he seems like one of those nice guys that's actually just like not really that nice, to be quite honest. He's not terrible, but when he started getting nasty with Ginny, I was like, oh, okay. That was weird. On another note, I love the actress that plays young Georgia. She looks just like the older actress, and she also copies her mannerisms so well. They did a great job casting them. So that's something I want to point out. Mayor Paul, he's just like a typical himbo character, but I just don't care about him. He's not a bad person, except when he was trying to parent Ginny and Austin. I was like, you're not their parents. So please, like, please. Then his relationship with Georgia, I mean, okay, whatever. Whatever. We'll see how it plays out. But like I said, he's not a bad character or a bad person. I just want I want Georgia and Joe together. Next, Austin. Austin is literally giving Carl slash Debbie from Shameless slash. Hold up. Who else was I? He was reminding me of somebody in one of these episodes. He needs help. And nobody's giving him help. I'm so lost. Like, Austin needs so much help. But you know what? We'll see what happens when he gets older. That's why I hope this show goes on for a couple of seasons. Because I would love to see Austin, like, older. And see what happens. OMG. I don't know who that is. Hold on. Oh. Anyways, Zion. I really enjoyed Zion's character. He came in and he was, out of all of the love interests, like past love interests for Georgia, he was one that wasn't like, oh, he needs to go back to where he came from, you know. I was happy when he finally moved closer to everybody. So yeah, I enjoy Zion's character. I want to see more of him. I love to see him explore his romantic life outside of, you know, Georgia, and also him being a father to Ginny mostly, but also extending that to Austin as well. So, like I said, Zion is a great character. He's interesting. He's smart. I see. I get it, Georgia. Padma. OMG. I felt so bad for Padma in this whole thing because she's a really pretty girl. Low key, I'm kind of feeling like Padma and Hunter should date. I don't know. But she was cool. She didn't really have much to do with a lot of the season, even though she works at the store with Jenny. Yeah. Oh, Nora. Nora, she's just one of those girls that's like completely invested in her relationship, and that's all she sees or cares about. Even to the point where her boyfriend talked nasty about Jenny, and she was like, oh yeah, me too, babe. And I was just kind of like, okay, not too much, Nora. And then she switches up when she gets around Jenny and them. She's one of those people that she never really holds her own in a scenario. She just kind of goes with what anybody else is going with. And she dealt with Maxine as well when she was mad with all the girls, but then eventually she was like, okay, I guess I can't be mad at you guys, because she realized it was ridiculous. You know what I'm saying? So, well, like I said, she's literally a teenager, so, you know, you can't really blame her. But sometimes she is, like, just nasty for no reason and has no spine. That's how I feel about her, for real. I really don't know who Sophie is. The neighbor, Ellen, she's really funny. I thought I was not going to like her at first, but then she was like, do you want to go smoke some of my son's stash? And then she was pouring Georgia a big glass of wine. I was like, okay, she's cool. You know what? You're cool with me. But then she got mad at Georgia, and I was just like, okay, not too much. But I think she'll get over it, and they'll just be friends again, because Georgia kind of, like, extended an olive branch to her. And, yeah, so we'll see what happens. Gil. Not y'all bringing what's his face from the X-Men up in here. I actually enjoyed him playing Gil. I was like, okay. Evil, nasty, disgusting. He needs to leave immediately. I need him in jail. I need him locked up. And even the one lady that is not like Georgia, She was like, "Oh no, baby, you cannot rent an apartment in this town." Mm-mm. So, oh, I wanted him whacked so badly in season 2. Like, I thought it was gonna happen, but Georgia can't get her hands dirty anymore. So what can we do? Like, she's already in jail. Like, she's already under hot fire. How do we get rid of him? Dang, if only Austin had shot him a couple more times. You know what I mean? Nobody would have said anything, and he's a minor. Honestly, them kids probably would have snitched. Ginny or Austin would have snitched on themselves. Georgia will take secrets to her grave. Ginny or Austin? Okay, but yeah, I need Gil gone. Like, I need him, like, gone next season. I'm not joking, because as long as he's around, we will never know peace. Riley? I don't remember her. Jordan, that was Nora's boyfriend. Anyways. Cynthia, I liked her little storyline. Like, it was cute. Oh, I know who Austin reminds me of. Sorry. He reminds me of, what's his name? Shane off of Weeds. Remember the littlest son from Weeds? And he ended up being so crazy when he got older? Austin reminds me of him, too. I don't know if anybody's ever seen Weeds, the TV show, but yeah. Cynthia. She makes me mad, but I love to hate her. It's true. I do love to hate her. And I liked how they gave her character more depth. Like, even though you didn't like her, you cared about what was happening with her and her husband, and you kind of empathized with her, sympathized for her. So yeah. She needs to stay away from Joe, though. And that's really real. I need her to stay away from Joe. Okay, Zach was a little boy that was bullying Austin at first, and then they became friends. I'm just like, okay, I don't really have an opinion about him because now they're friends. Braisha, I liked her storyline somewhat. She really has very little of a storyline. Hopefully in season 3 we once again really go into her more, and Ginny exploring her relationship with Braisha and all of her friends more, because yeah, her friends are just not it sometimes, and she obviously can't talk about certain things with her friends. She has to go to Braisha, and they can actually easily relate to like explain stuff to them or get into an argument, a hostile argument with them. So I need her to just be more present in the next season. I hope she gets with Byron or Brian, whatever his name is, all that kind of stuff. Super cute, great, fantastic. Simone, she was Zion's love interest. She was super cool and classy. I loved her. Lynette, I don't know if she was like the grandmother or something. She was funny as heck, and she was reading, kind of low key reading, Austin and Ginny. She was like, okay, you guys do not need to be talking to your mom about your mama like that. And yeah. Mr. Gittin, I do not like Ginny's teacher. He needs to be fired immediately, but I guess that's not happening. I would really like to see repercussions for this man. I need Georgia to get him fired, but she's in jail, so that can't happen. And also, Zion won't do it because Ginny said no, but I need the grandmother to find out low-key, because I know she'll go up to the school. I just know she would. He is so nasty, like not picking her essay, just being nasty to her in the beginning of the course, saying she's not going to be able to keep up with it, and she had already read all of the books on the list. And then on top of that, being like, can you pick out a black author for us to read? Like, that's her job or her responsibility when it's yours. That was just nasty work. Like, I need to see him face, I need more than blackmailing to happen. Like, Dr. Lily, I really enjoyed her therapist. Like I said, I enjoyed her therapist. I like the questions she asked. Yeah, I really enjoyed that whole those scenes with her. Because sometimes you can see therapy scenes in shows, and it's like, what? Like, this seems like it would be completely unethical, but the way she was responding and acting, it just really seemed somewhat realistic in a show that's like a drama comedy. So I enjoyed it. And those scenes were taken pretty seriously. You know what I mean? So. Yep. Silver, that is Max's love interest, new love interest. I really like her. She is so adorable. The last girl she was with was nasty. Mm-hmm. And we end the season with her like kind of, you know, trying to draw Max back in, but stay away from her. Silver, don't worry, girl. It's okay. And then Brian, yeah, he's super cool, talented thespian. I hope him and Bray should get together if that's what she really wants and he wants. And yeah, I really ended up enjoying Ginny and Georgia, guys, more than I thought I would. It's one of my favorite shows on Netflix. So yeah, there you go. Congratulations. I watched it and I really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for season 3 because I'm gonna assume it's gonna get renewed because a lot of people are watching and talking about it. And let me know what you guys think about the show. This is my first video of the new year. I've been kind of MIA because I'm on break right now, but you know, I'll try to make more videos. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I really appreciate you guys for subscribing to my videos and watching my videos. And yeah, I'll see you in my next video. Bye.